She's one of the reasons I even clicked to watch the show and was partially excited or excited at all to watch the show. I was like, all right, well, it's Star Wars. I'll give it a chance one way or another. Oh, it's Star Wars with Trinity. I'll give it a chance. And they kill Trinity in the first scene. Quite literal scene.
I was very underwhelmed, my friend, to say the least. So I'm talking specifically the first episode, just in terms of storytelling. Like, I get it. You want to try and set the tempo with killing off one of the master Jedis of that planet to kind of set a message. But at the same time, it's Carrie Ann Moss.
Yes. Oh God. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I know. I had to say it for you, but
it pissed me off unbelievably the second that they killed off Carrie Ann Moss. She's one of the reasons I even clicked to watch the show and was partially excited or excited at all to watch the show. I was like, all right, well, it's Star Wars. I'll give it a chance one way or another. Oh, it's Star Wars with Trinity. I'll give it a chance. And they kill Trinity in the first scene. Quite literal scene. Chaz and I were watching it the other day whenever it came out the other night, and I think that sentence audibly came out verbatim, and I was like, they just killed Trinity. She's why I watched this show. And she said, "Oh, I've been so excited to get back into action. I'm so excited to be in an action show. I got to do a lot of action, and I'm waiting to see that action because she had a very action packed few moments that she was
it was great."
And it was definitely Trinity-like, and it was really cool.
It was all Matrix, dude. It was all green lightsaber and everything.
Something that I'm worried about with this series totally is kind of a Book of Boba Fett syndrome, in the sense of, is everything going to be backstory that we're actually interested in, and then the actual story that's being told right now? Because it seems like all the cool stuff and all the fun stuff happened in the past, and we're waiting for flashbacks and stuff like that.
Right.
You don't hire Dean Charles Chapman from Game of Thrones from 1917 to play Master Torben and kill him off immediately in the second episode, same way you do Master Indara in the first. Those are two of your biggest stars, two of your biggest draw points for the show in general. Like, you've got a Game of Thrones king, and then you also have Trinity. Like, you just don't get rid of those, and obviously they're going to utilize them more in other episodes later on.
So, yeah, they'll probably be back in flashbacks. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But do you think that's going to hurt the show in the same way Book of Boba Fett felt like, hey, give me one full season with two halves or something like that. Give me the first half, give me the second half. Like, this is it just obviously doing flashbacks works really well if it highlights something that character is going through in the episode, so on and so forth. But if we end up only being interested in the flashbacks, do we run into in the future something like, I mean, that's if this gets continued, if it doesn't get canceled, renewed, all that kind of stuff. If another season were to happen, do we end up being like Arrow, where the flashbacks by season 3 are the only thing we're actually interested in? And, oh, great, now the modern time kind of sucks, you know? Like, Book of Boba Fett and Arrow are the two examples where I'm like, I'm worried about the show. Because I don't really truly have qualms with it. There's nothing sure, I could find some things to change. I just don't have qualms with it at all.
I see. You're trying to figure out the direction of which the show could go forward with, them relying on flashbacks. Do you think they're relying on flashbacks too much?
We haven't seen a flashback yet either, though. So
we will. 100%. Everyone's talking about, I'm so sorry for what we did. And what happened to May? What did they do to May and Nosha?
One of them trained as a Jedi. The other they didn't take to train and thought died in fire of some sort.
Right. From May's perspective, oh, you took my sister to be trained and left me for dead kind of aspect of it is a good reason for her to start killing the Jedi, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's actually great reasoning behind the character.
It's great motivation for whoever's manipulating her, too.
Yeah.
Whoever's controlling her.
The questions have been posed to us. I haven't been intrigued enough to truly want to find the answers to those questions.
What do you think of the High Jedi Order right now? Right? It's what is it? What are they called? Just the Jedi Order?
It's the High Republic, I guess.
The High Republic, yeah. You see, we do get to see like the Order still together, and these new younglings being trained instead of being slaughtered, which is a huge plus
for now.
I think I think scenic wise, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the frickin' series did get double the budget that Obi-Wan Kenobi show got, and you can tell.
Everything.
I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Production quality is good. I think everything's good in that aspect of things for sure. What
Oh
did
my god,
real quick?
yes,
What did
her
you think
little.
about the little Pip droid?
I thought it was a little nifty, but like I don't. I
What was
mean,
the purpose of that droid? Is my I
a
kept
tool
thinking like
droid, a droid that's just it has sentience, but it doesn't do anything. It can't move, right? You have to operate it, right?
it reminds me of the droid from not the droid, the little robot from Rick and Morty that just is the butter
What is
thing.
my purpose? You pass butter.
Oh my god.
I think the whole purpose of it is once she puts it into a console or something, it'll hack it for her. It'll just listen to her, but she has to do it herself. So it's all a do it her own kind of thing. Travel. I don't know. I guess that's why she has it. That's why it's useful.
I get it, but I also don't get it. You know?
If you're thinking of it from a marketing perspective, it's not going to sell. It might
No.
sell to fans, sure, as a collector's item, but like this isn't going to sell to the mass populace. But that's
Well,
just
I
me.
mean, okay. I guess if I did have a qualm about the show, it would be that everything feels like a trope. It feels like the writing is like, okay, well, what kind of trope from these movies can we put in here? What kind of Star Wars trope that's always here that we
Yeah.
can kind of put in here?
It lacks the original magic. I'm just saying. There needs to be an intense moment to where you really need to rely on the force, and it comes through. Like Luke when he's hanging up upside down to get the freaking lightsaber, right? That's like life or death situation. I didn't quite feel that with this show, especially with like I know in the first episode you killed Carrie Ann Moss with having her decide whether or not to save a life or save her own with using the force, but I don't know. I think I needed a different lightsaber battle. After that tiny little stab, she could have gotten back up and kept fighting. Carry on, Moss. I think the fight should not have ended there, especially for a master. Qui-Gon Jinn, who had been stabbed through the chest with the lightsaber, and other people who have been stabbed by a lightsaber, thanks to the sequels,
Yeah.
proves that these Jedi Masters could have survived. I mean, was it a tipped dagger? Was it, I don't know, was it laced with something? Come on, you got to give us a little more than just a
Well,
tiny dagger.
they'll tell us that in 4 years in the annex of some book.
I wanted to, like, oh my gosh, like, it could have been so much better.
I think that kind of plays into the underwhelming aspect of it. Is like, don't just like you just said. We've seen so many people just survive. We've seen Sabine survive. Qui Gon's the only guy we've seen get stabbed by a freaking lightsaber and not survive.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, we have countless different examples of that in canon now, which it's like, all right, okay, that's there now. We're kind of dealing with that. You can't now show us one person dying from one little thing like that. Now, if May were to use the Force right there and pick up 3 daggers out of her boot or whatever it might be, and use that to fling all 3 at her, hey, 3 in like a little thing, yeah, you know what? You got me. She's probably dead, you know? And the other thing that I think I was thinking of that I brain farted on a second ago about the Force was the perfect moment. We got the little Force. All right, we're gonna test your brain.
Doesn't even need to be needed. It's like when they're talking about it, it's like you think she's still alive, right? He could just be like, I think it's because he just learned English like a couple, like you said, 4 months ago.
Literally this comment.
Response, the response time, I think, is another thing. Like, actor plays Soul doesn't speak or understand English. Yeah,
and I love Lee Jung Jae. So don't get me wrong. I love Lee Jung Jae. He's an amazing actor. I can't wait for Squid Games 2.
Yeah,
and he's amazing on Squid Games, and the other things that we've seen him in, which is not a whole bunch, are excellent as well. If you're hired for Star Wars, do not start learning English 4 months before your role, which is exactly the time he said. 4 months before I started filming, I started learning English, worked with 2 dialect coaches, and 2 new dialect coaches came with me and stayed with me on set and helped me form the character. That's really cool. That is great. Start learning English a year beforehand. If your whole thing, you know you're in negotiations for these things. The second you start negotiations, it takes me out of it. I love the guy as an actor, but every single scene he's in The Acolyte, I'm like, you can see the methodical thinking. It's not his character's not thinking about what's going on. It's him as an actor thinking about how do I say this in English, and you can see that with his eyes. It's like his eyes are thinking about what he has to say next instead of actually what's going on in the scene.
Yeah.
And just from the acting perspective that we have, you can see that we're trained to look for that kind of stuff. And
I saw so much raw emotion in Squid Games versus here.
oh, and I mean that's to say, if it gets to season 2,
Hmm. It will be
which
better.
hopefully it's good enough, and that it does get renewed and we do get a season 2, because more Star Wars I'm a happy camper about, especially if it's good Star Wars. It needs to be good first and foremost, of course, and then if they do have that, then he has an extra year or two. That means he would have had a year or so of going to press junkets, talking to people all the time. That's a lot of time to practice English, and a lot of people that are more lenient and willing to help you get to a better point too, which is great.
There's a lot of Jedi in this, and they're starting to kill them off. I'm like, all right, this is just the apprentice. All right, where's the master? Where's this? Where's the person controlling him? Controlling May. Talking about the end of the second episode, where they leave us with the Force Master Wookiee. I was a little underwhelmed. I'm like, okay, I need
Yeah.
more. I need more of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, don't dangle the freaking carrot in front of my face and not make me want to run.
Right.
Like, don't give me something to hold on to, give me something to latch on to, and there just isn't really something to do that. I feel like this show is just so many tropes packed into one in a lot of ways, so far at least, that it kind of ends up being too safe. Does that make sense? Like the show didn't take
Yeah.
risks in that in a storytelling sense, and you can definitely feel that because there's nothing going on. There's nothing to like get you.
All right. So if I had to rate each episode individually with 5 stars, I'd give the first one, I'd say a 3 out of 5. I was, for the action, for the scenes, for the scenic parts of it. I took away a star for storytelling and just, leaving us left with wanting more. I feel like they didn't leave us with that. In the second episode,
Mm.
I give it I give it the same 3. I give it about 3 stars, just because like there's no good cliffhanger. The story did progress in a way that I liked, but I didn't get enough action for me. No, not enough action. She tried to
Well,
kill Tobin, Master Tobin, and he just ended up drinking the poison. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. There's that. Storytelling's over. Off to kill another Jedi in a different episode, right? All right, 3 stars.
yeah.
I agree, it was better, but I couldn't give it a fourth. I couldn't give it a 4 star.
No, I'm with you. I think for me it'd be 3 out of 5 on both the episodes as well, and it's for storytelling. And then honestly, as you were saying it, I kind of started thinking about it. Everything looks great that we're
Yeah.
in, that we see, all the scenes, all the production design is excellent from just a generic standpoint, but also it's totally it feels like it's almost too safe in that aspect of things too, where we haven't really. I don't feel like we've followed the characters anywhere yet. We're in a room here, we're in a spaceship here, we're outside over here, and it's just like a generic area for a second where it always looks great, like the production quality is there, but it just doesn't feel lived in. I don't feel like the world
living
feels
in the
very lived in.
space,
Maybe at the
yeah.
very beginning with the Carrie Ann Moss stuff, that feels more lived in. But right after that, show me more of the Jedi Temple. Show me people walking in the background. Don't show me just a class real quick and da da da. And Hollywood's full of nepotism. Well, you cast people and you know people and you cast them. It's just kind of how it works. It's how business works in every freaking job everywhere. The thing that I think about when I see Vernestra on screen is I believe it's Leslie Headland, the director and showrunner. It's her wife. So it's like, okay, did you hire somebody that can truly act for this role, or did you hire somebody that, okay, now she's bringing in the paycheck as well, And I don't like to think like that, but if your actors aren't really giving you much to really hold on to, it's where the brain naturally goes, And then Padawan wise, I don't remember Daphne Keene's character's name off the top of my head, but I like her a lot so far. I just wish that instead of just being like the strong character in the back that says a good line or two and says this is that and that's this, I wish they would give her more action. She's such an action-oriented actress that I wish they would give her something to do, and not just exposition. I like cool. Have a droid for an exposition or something like that. Daphne Keene's far too talented of an actress, and I hope she gets her chance to shine.
We shall see. We shall see, man. Or actually, for Osha, finding out that May's alive, it's pretty good. I see the connection they're trying to make. I think
And I like Osha's character. I do like the character.
Yeah.
And Amanda Stenberg brings a lot to that character to not make her truly boring, but it's just just a generic. I hate to use the word again, but it's just a generic character. It's such a boring character. Like, oh, there's your main protagonist, nice no matter what, and has a little tiny droid on her, and dee-da-dee, and I'm like, okay, come on, give me something fresh, you know? Should this have been made into a movie? I know we're only 2 episodes in, and there are 8 episodes total, so we have another month and a half. But just in the format of what we got, what we've been given so far, if you cut them both down into 20 minutes and 18 minutes, or 20 minutes and 15 minutes, or 20 minutes and 20 minutes, could you have a first act of a film and be much more satisfied? Because it's
So
not
how many-
like the series. I know one of the biggest gripes.
How many episodes are we getting?
8 total, and the longest episode I think is the first episode, and it was like 45 minutes, something like that. Like the longest episode's in the mid 40s. I
Okay.
believe.
Well, I would have liked a lengthy movie, a lengthy Star Wars movie. Give me 2.5 hours of like the best footage, cut it down, or whatever you got to do, or not cut it at all.
Because if we only have 3 or 3.5 hours of footage at the end of the day for the series, why not just cut it into 2-hour 45?
2:45.
Is my
A lot of
thought
people
process.
go see it, get a lot of runtime, sell a lot of tickets.
You get more money if you do it right. Obviously, you got to bring goodwill back somehow. And if you want to do something right, do a project correctly. And I'm worried that this one doesn't have just enough to really bring it home. I hope they do, and I hope they're saving everything for that bring it home. But then again, why did you save it all? You don't need to save it all. You need to sprinkle it
Right.
throughout, kind of
Right.
deal. But yeah, interesting. You know what? I could use a good nap.